Hi, Tammy, all the way from the USA. Glad you could make it today. And Sylvia in Malvern, very nice part of the country. Hi, Paul from Glasgow, and Carol from Northumberland. You can see lots of you saying hi. Nigel in Plymouth, Veronica in Northumberland as well. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Okay, I can see a lot more of you are joined now, so I think we'll make a start. So, hello everybody, and welcome to our webinar aimed at older audiences, how to stay safer online. I'm Annie Mannion, and I'm Digital Marketing Manager at AbilityNet, and I'll be your host for today's session. So, just before we start, just to go through a few bits of housekeeping. We have live captions provided by Sam at MyClearText. You can turn on the captions using the CC option on the control panel. And we're also live on YouTube. So if you're watching on there, you can access the captions via streamtext.net/player?event equals AbilityNet. You can also download the slides that we're using today, if you wish, from our website at abilitynet.org.uk/stay safer webinar. And if you have any technical issues or you need to leave early, don't worry, you'll receive an email within the next week with the recording, the transcript, and the slides. And depending on how you joined the webinar, you can find a Q&A window. I can see lots of you have already. So if you'd like to ask any questions, do drop those in the Q&A area. And then finally, we also have a feedback survey you'll be directed to at the end. So please do complete that if you're able. So for those of you who aren't yet familiar with AbilityNet, we're now more than 25 years old, and we're a charity that supports older people and disabled people living with any disability or impairment to use technology to achieve their goals at home, at work, and in education. And we do that by providing specialist advice, accessibility training, and free information like our fact sheets and this webinar. So today, discussing how to stay safer online, we've joining us Lucy Walsh, who you can see waving at the moment. She's our digital skills trainer in the South Wales area, and she's going to outline the key ways to identify and avoid some of the most common digital scams. And we also have a recorded section to play for you from Alex Somerville, who's the co-founder and CEO of Ask Silver, which is an app that helps you identify if digital content that you come into contact with is potentially a scam. And then later on, I'll also be playing a short video from TV broadcasting legend Johnny Ball, who you might have seen in the news recently, supporting AbilityNet and encouraging his generation to sign up for this online webinar. So if you spotted that and are signed up because of it, then welcome, and we're really glad you've made it along. So just before Lucy and Alex share their advice with you, I'm just going to start with a quick poll to find out a bit more about everyone here today. So I'm just going to launch the poll now. So can you tell us, have you ever been scammed online? You can choose yes more than once, yes just once, no, I'm not sure, or not applicable. So depending on how you've joined the webinar, you may find you can't see the poll, but you can respond in the Q&A panel. So I'm just going to leave it a few moments for everybody to participate. Okay, nearly everybody's answered. A few more moments, and then I'm going to end the poll now and sharing the results. So the highest percentage is 56% no, you haven't been scammed online, which is great news. We've had 19% yes, just once, 11% sadly more than once, 13% aren't sure, and then 0 for not applicable. So I'm going to stop sharing the results now. Thank you for all your responses. So whatever you responded with, we hope you'll learn something new today from Lucy's valuable advice and Alex's video. So I think Lucy also has some data to share about the general acknowledged percentage of people who've been scammed in reality. So yeah, over to you, Lucy, to explain more.
Thanks, Annie. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining today. My name's Lucy Walsh, and I'm one of the digital skills trainer covering the South Wales region here at AbilityNet. Yeah, Annie's absolutely right. We have found from delivering this kind of workshop over the last 18 months or so that approximately 1 in 3 older people have actually been scammed. And during the face-to-face sessions that we run, some of those people who have thought they'd not been scammed have met up with our trainers towards the end of the session and realized that perhaps they have been, or they've got something suspicious in their email inbox. So it looks like our poll is just about right there. Great news for those of you that haven't been scammed, though. Next slide. Okay, so Annie's talked a little bit about scams, so have I. I guess the big question is, what is a scam? Thanks, Kelly. Today, we're going to have a look at scams as opposed to hacking. If I said an organization such as Jaguar Land Rover or Marks and Spencer, then you might very well think about hacking. Hacking is where cyber criminals penetrate the security systems and financial systems of generally big businesses to obtain the contact details of their customers and then generally hold those big businesses to ransom. And you may have heard a bit about that in the news. Today, though, we're going to look at something called scamming. And here we are, we're saying that a scam is where criminals, cyber criminals, tell us a story. I've chosen to call it a story. And they're going to obtain our personal financial information. So scams have been around for forever. You might think about people coming to the doorstep trying to sell you something that you don't need. And that's exactly what we're talking about, where we, in this case, are reading or hearing a story. Sometimes we're tempted, it looks too good to be true, or maybe it frightens us. And as a result, we are asked to hand over our personal financial information. And that's generally by us handing over our debit or credit card details because we have believed the story. But ultimately, as you all know, scams are in fact frauds. So we're going to have a little look at a few common scams now, and hopefully by the end of my session, you'll be able to leave here with about 4 or 5 useful hints and tips of how to identify and avoid scams. Thanks, Kelly. So there are a number of different scams. There is the doorstep scam, as we've already spoken about, probably not happening as much. Postal scams, we've spoken to people who have received letters through the door encouraging them to part with their financial information, debit card number for a particular reason. Telephone scams, a lot of people talk to us saying that they have people contacting them on their landline and their mobile phone, telling them a story, possibly about the fact that maybe their device isn't working particularly well, and trying to obtain their financial details, or maybe trying to get a link into their device. But today, mostly, we're going to have a little look at what we're calling online scams. So those scams that are coming to us generally through social media, text messaging, WhatsApp, and email. So let's have a little look at some of those on our next slide. Okay, so first of all, we're going to have a little look at delivery scams, probably one of the most common ones, I think. As you can see, I've put up 2 examples here. One is a text message, one has come through as an email. So looking at the one in blue, I'll just focus on that one for now. We can see that that seems to be from the delivery company Every. Now, that is Every's legitimate logo, as is Royal Mail's legitimate logo on the one on the right. And it is as easy as 1 or 2 clicks on a mouse to copy a logo and put it into an email or text message to make the recipient think that it's legitimate. So the one on the left here, it's given some code to us that doesn't look particularly genuine. And it says, Murphy was unable to deliver your every parcel at 11:23 due to an incomplete address. And it'll have that classic link. We can see in this case, the link is underlined, and on the one on the right that appears to be from Royal Mail, that's also an underlined link. And that one's asking you to reschedule the delivery. Now, you'll remember me saying at the beginning that a scam is a story. So here we go. This is the start of the story. So what we're being told here is that somebody's made an attempt to deliver something. In this case, the address was incomplete. On the other side, we weren't available. And it's going to ask us to click on a link. Now, that's one of the first things that we're going to ask you to think very carefully about when you receive any communications, particularly those that are unexpected. If there is a link on there, we're asking you to think carefully before you select it. By selecting a link, scammers will very often then allow you to access their particular information, where it will be asking you to possibly input your address, your postcode, maybe your contact details, email address, and phone number. But remember, a scam is all about getting hold of what I'll call the debit card information or credit card information. And if you can imagine what the story would be here, on both of these occasions, we understand that the story is going to be that there is a re-delivery fee. So by clicking on these links, the story will be that there is a re-delivery fee for you to pay to obtain your parcel. And of course, we know re-delivery fees don't exist, but what a great story. You would read that, you'd be excited to think that there was a parcel there for you, and you'd be tempted to click on the link and innocently fill out your information. And at the bottom, it will say a redelivery fee, and it will be a small amount, $1.99, $2.99. But of course, remember, we're not going to pay any attention to the amount that they're asking you to pay. It's all about the fact that you will have handed over those bank card details. So some tips at the very beginning. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to ignore these logos. Just because they're genuine looking logos doesn't mean that they are genuine. Remember, just a couple of clicks can enable us to put a logo onto any communication. The other thing you'll notice is that neither of these are actually addressed to anybody. So if you had been waiting for a parcel, it would say, Dear Lucy or Dear Mrs. Walsh, and neither of these name the recipient. Also, it doesn't tell us who the parcel is from. If you are an online shopper and you're expecting a parcel from, let's say, Boots, it will generally say your parcel from Boots couldn't be delivered. But of course, this doesn't say that at all. Scammers are always very generic because they use what we call a scattergun approach to try and tempt anybody into clicking on those links. And the third thing we're asking you to think about here is, does it make any sense? And that's where we say, stop and think. Am I expecting a parcel? Is it my birthday? Is it my anniversary? Have I requested this communication? And if the answer is no, we'll ask you not to select those links. Thanks, Kelly. Okay, the next one is what we're calling a finance scam, done in quite a different way here. You'll probably recognize both of the brands. We've already said to ignore those. I'll focus on the one on the left. That is from Netflix. Netflix is a subscription television service, so you pay directly out of your bank account an amount of about £8 a month. And this one says, please update your payment details. And for the eagle-eyed amongst you, you might notice that it says, hi, dear. So they haven't even bothered to put a fake name or customer on there. They've actually just put hi, dear on it and hope that nobody will notice. And this one, much like the Lloyds Bank one on the right, says that there is a problem with the payment information. And it asks you to click on a link to update your details. The one from Lloyds Bank is very, very similar. This is saying that you've added a new payee, but it's deactivated something on the account. So would you mind clicking on the link and reactivating it so that the payment can be made? Remember, scams are stories. They both look incredibly legitimate, but when we read them in a little bit more detail and we stop and think, it's going to make sure that we don't click on these links. So have a little look at them. So we're saying we're ignoring the logo. We've said that on the last one. We can see that neither of them are addressed to anybody. That is not how banks contact their customers. All right, they don't have a generic greeting saying "Dear customer." There are those nasty links we're asking you to avoid, taking you out of the front-facing email or text message and encouraging you to go into the scammers' systems there to add your details. We're also asking if it makes sense. So just like the last one, am I expecting a parcel? Well, one of the first things to think about is, do I have a Netflix account or do I bank with Lloyds Bank? This might sound hard to believe, but I've been running these sessions mostly face to face for about 18 months or so. And I have met a handful of people who have selected the link from the Lloyds Bank scam on the right, have got their debit card, input their debit card details into the form, and they haven't actually banked with Lloyds. And by that point, they've already handed their bank details over to a scammer. They just didn't do that stop and think. It looked legitimate. They couldn't remember who they banked with, or they became frightened by it and input their details. So, does it make sense? One of the other things we can do is check the information elsewhere. So, okay, if you bank with Lloyds and you're a Netflix customer, before you select any links, we're asking you to come out of the email or out of the text message that you're looking at and check it elsewhere. For those of you that have Netflix or subscription service accounts, you could go onto their website, popping Netflix into Google and looking at your account from there just to check whether or not that there's a problem with your payments. And similarly, if it's one from the bank, you could call them or you could go online banking to check it. But just remember, if it doesn't make sense, then we're asking you not to click that link. I've popped a number here in this slide, dial 159. At 159, you can call that number and that will put you through to your bank. It's like a security gateway to the telephone numbers for all banks. So you can have a go of that later. If you dial 159, it will say, tell us which bank you're looking for. It will obtain the correct number for that bank and put you directly through to them rather than you phoning any number that might be on an email or a text message. Next slide, please. Okay, so again, you're starting to recognize them now, I'm sure. You're looking through the hints and tips thinking, are these scams? The answer is yes, all three of them are on this occasion. We've decided to call this rebate scams. It's where somebody wants to give you money. So in our first one, somebody was tempting you into a parcel. On our second slide, they were scaring you. They were trying to worry you into something. And on this particular one, they're being incredibly kind. They're telling you that there is some money that you're entitled to receive. So we can have a little look at the one on the right. That's possibly one of the clearest to see. It's a text message. It says gov.uk and it says you're eligible for a discounted energy bill under something called the Energy Bill Support Scheme. And there is our nasty link. So let's have a look at it in a bit more detail, and the others will follow suit as well. The one in the middle is a tax refund. Again, it looks like it's from HM Revenue and Customs, but we're going to ignore those logos. All of them follow the same kind of method. It's a story. It's tempting you to click on a link, but if you look at them carefully, you'll see that none of them are addressed to anybody. And in fact, the text messages on the right, the text message on the right looks like it's just coming from a personal text message number, personal mobile phone number. The one on the left there is from something called GovRev. So we're asking you to avoid clicking on any links that you've not asked for, even if you're somebody that you think may be entitled to a discounted energy bill, for example, or a tax refund. Remember, our advice is to come out of that text message or email, go on to gov.uk and have a little look and see whether you're eligible from the legitimate website. And if you are, you can apply through there. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that there's no such thing called the Energy Bill Support Scheme. That may very well be a legitimate benefit that people could claim for. But what we're saying is it's not eligible through that particular link. Similarly with tax refund and the one on the left. What scammers will often do is they will play on one of two emotions. And we call them fear or FOMO. And FOMO is fear of missing out. Fear of missing out, like in this case, and where there was the parcel, is when they're trying to tempt you in to click on a link because there is something lovely there for you to have. And we nickname that FOMO. Fear, though, is a little bit like the Netflix and the Lloyds Bank one that we saw earlier, where they're frightening you into doing something. And you'll remember that they were telling you that there is something wrong and asking you to click on a link. So that's something else we're asking you to think about. Are these text messages or emails pulling on one of those two emotions? Are they trying to frighten me, or are they trying to tempt me? So our tips at the bottom, again, let's have a little look and see who it's from. We're asking you not to select any links that you've not asked for. And thinking to yourself, does it make any sense at all? And coming out of the text message or email, going into Google and going onto the legitimate website to check it there for any of these kinds of scams. Next slide. Okay, friendship or romance scams. Now, there are lots of great TV shows. There's one called For Love or Money, I think you might find on the BBC iPlayer, that's particularly good at highlighting what these scams are and how they work. Friendship or romance scams are generally done where a cyber criminal will create a fake profile and put it through a social media site, something like Facebook. Statistics tell us that more older people are using Facebook than younger people now, because it stops them feeling so isolated. They can keep in touch with friends and family and video call and message at the touch of a button. But of course, unless your privacy settings are set just for yourself, then potentially anybody using Facebook might be able to find you. The way cyber criminals work in this case, as we put here in the 1, 2, 3 steps, they create a fake profile to court people online. Now, very often people will always think, oh, well, I would be able to spot it. Yeah, it will always be some general in the army working thousands of miles abroad on the other side of the world. But what we're recognizing is that's not always the case. Sometimes scammers are now contacting people based on their hobbies. So, for example, if you were somebody that was into classic cars and your social media profile had pictures of you with classic cars and you were posting information about your hobby, and in your bio, your little biography about yourself, it said, I'm a huge fan of classic cars, then that's how scammers are getting in touch with people to try and court them and create a common interest or relationship. What we'll find is that they will stay in touch with you, and this could take a long time. Sometime last year, I was speaking to an older lady. I went to visit her in her home, and she had been speaking to the singer, Tom Jones, as she thought, and that had been going on for some time. It looked like it was him. The picture was there. He would send videos of shows that he'd done. And what generally will happen then is the person will be in some kind of difficulty, which will lead them asking to money from the individual that they're targeting. So we're saying stop and think about what you're sharing. Be careful sharing things like, my partner sadly died recently, leaving me on my own, or my children have moved to Australia, so I'm now on my own. Things like downsizing your property, all of these things that criminals would particularly want to target. And you can check your privacy settings as well on the social media site that you're using just by clicking in the top corner, going on to settings and just changing them to make sure that only you are able and your friends to see what you're posting. Next slide. Okay, we've called this fake rewards or prizes. Is this fear or FOMO? This is definitely a FOMO. This is a fear of missing out. So this is when scammers are, and very often they may use legitimate adverts. They may very well use legitimate adverts that they've taken from somewhere else. And they will place them on very often social media sites, or for those of you that play games, for example, solitaire, things like that. If you download any gaming apps, And they can come to you like the one on the left through WhatsApp. And they will be telling you that there is a reward or a prize for you. Congratulations, you've been shortlisted for this, that, or the other. Or click on this link to claim your free 36-piece Tupperware set there, as we can see from John Lewis on the right. Now, the reason these look legitimate is because very often they are. It may very well be that John Lewis had a Black Friday early deal where they were giving away 36-piece Tupperware sets. But remember, in the same way that it's easy to copy a logo, it's very easy to copy that advert. And scammers will copy that, but it's the link sitting behind that front-facing logo that you've always got to think about. So with scamming being a story, let's have a little look at the John Lewis one. That's encouraging you to click on a link to take a survey and then claim your 36-piece Tupperware set. Well, you haven't given your bank details away, have you, at that moment? So how might that happen? Well, it's probably going to be through postage and packing. All of these will have some element of you having to hand over your debit card details, and very often that's through things like postage and packing. Or it may be with the one on the left from Aldi, you may have just won a prize and they may very well say that they want to put it directly into your bank account. And of course, that will lead you to handing over your debit card details. So how do we avoid them? Well, not clicking on those links. If you're scrolling through social media or if you're playing a game and these adverts pop up in front of you, there may very well be a great deal on face cream in Boots. That's fine. Don't click on that link. Come out of the social media site, go into the Boots website and claim your free prize there. And we're also asking people to be very careful about filling in surveys. Lots of things say spin the wheel to see if you've won a prize, but before you do, answer a few questions about yourself. And it'll be asking things like your gender, your age, where you live in the country, your likes, what kinds of things you buy, possibly an income bracket. I always say to people, if you don't tell somebody in the post office queue, then don't click on these links and tell somebody online this kind of information about yourself. Next slide. So hopefully we've given you some food for thought there, and remembering that scamming is a story. Lots of people will say to me, what's the best way that what's the best antivirus that I can use to avoid being scammed? And we'll often say to them, well, actually, the antivirus is us. Following these top tips and having a think about it. So we've said we're going to have a little eye on generic greetings. Coming out of what we're looking at and checking our information elsewhere. And remember that you can dial 159 if you needed to speak to your bank. Thinking to myself, does it make sense? Is this likely that there would be this gift? Is it my birthday? We're asking you to avoid selecting links, remember, and have a little think about why they're asking you to make the payment. Is it postage and packing? Is it this redelivery fee? Or are these designer boots way, way more discounted than they should be? So having a little think. And the final slide bringing this together for us. Next slide, please. And there you go. We're just saying just to be alert. So if you're receiving a suspicious text, we're saying stop, read it carefully. Don't click on those links. And for suspicious texts, you can text 7726, which actually spells out spam on your keypad on your phone, SPAM 7726. You can make your friends and family aware of it. And for suspicious phone calls as well, not giving out any personal details and feeling okay just to hang up, and report any scam calls to Action Fraud, and do let as many people as you know aware of it. Thank you. We've got some contact details here. AbilityNet deliver support to older people face-to-face in homes and in their local groups. And on there, you'll see our free phone helpline. You can email me directly. That is lucy.walsh@abilitynet.org.uk. And there is the link to request support from our website. Thanks, Annie.
Thank you so much, Lucy.
Welcome.
Yeah, fantastic, valuable tips to remember. And I've also added additional AbilityNet resources to check out during when you receive the presentation. So there's some fact sheets, some scam related webinars, and a short video that you can watch. So you'll receive all of the links within the slide that you're emailed at the end of the webinar. So next up, Alex Somerville couldn't be with us live in person today, so he's recorded his section for us to share with you, which includes a demo of the Ask Silver app website and how you can use it to help identify and report potential scams that you might face. So, Kelly, in the background, if you wouldn't mind playing Alex's video.
Hi, my name is Alex and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Ask Silver, where we're all about protecting consumers from scams. The background to starting this was my dad being scammed. He lost almost £150,000 in 2019 in 3 separate investment scams over a 4-month period and 9 individual transactions. One started on Facebook, one via a cold call, and one he doesn't remember. They may all be linked, they may not be, we'll never know. And we were one of the lucky ones. We got almost £120,000 refunded to him after we proved that the bank should have done more. When I started Ask Silver, I thought older and vulnerable people were the ones being scammed, but I was wrong. Millennials and those younger are actually more likely to be scammed than any other demographic. We lose less, but that's besides the point. In 2024, 3 friends of mine in their early 30s who are smart and work in technology lost £40,000, £65,000 and £160,000. I would have never guessed that they could be scammed. I believe now that I will be scammed at some point in my life, because I know heads of fraud at banks that have been scammed, police officers that have been scammed. It can happen to everyone. And so the important thing is to be aware, be educated in the space, and do what we can to help each other. So hopefully in this presentation, I'll share a bit about the tools, I'll show some examples of scams, and I'll show you how you can protect others around you as well. Millions of UK consumers, probably every adult and everyone watching this, probably gets messages like this every single week, possibly every day. We're getting 5, 10, 20, 100 messages every single week, or calls, or WhatsApp messages, or emails, or websites, or Facebook Marketplace ads, everything else in between. We're being bombarded by scams. And that's one of the reasons why I think I'm going to be scammed at some point in time, because it's just going to be statistically hard not to be scammed with everything that I see. We're going to play a really quick game that I call Scam or Not a Scam. I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to give you 4 seconds to decide if you think it's a scam, and then I'm going to tell you if it is or isn't a scam. So here we go. We'll start with the first one, and I'll give you 4 seconds to figure it out. 4, 3, 2, 1. What do you think? Scam or not a scam? I'll give you 2 more seconds to decide. 2, 1. This one is not a scam. I would have said scam if someone had sent it to me. It looks suspicious. It's got capitalization on the urgent. It's about kind of phishing and cybersecurity. The link looks suspicious, but in fact, this is legitimate. If you go onto that link, it does lead you to the high school. It does talk about this issue that happened. So it is not a scam, but it's really hard to figure out. Then the next one, 4, 3, 2, 1. What do you think? Scam or not a scam? I'm going to flick back to it. This is not a scam. This is official government UK passport text message. I'll go to the next one. 4, 3, 2, 1. What do you think? Did you think that was a scam or not a scam? I'll let you come to a conclusion in a second. Okay. This is a scam. So it's a perfect clone of Sports Direct, their website, but you can see in the website here at the top, Sports DCT is not the Sports Direct online website. So this is a scam. About us and what we do. Ask Silver is a scam checker. All that means is you send it something that you're not sure about, and it will tell you if it thinks it's a scam or not. You can take a screenshot, you can copy paste the message, you can use copy paste the website. I'll show you it in action right now. So all you need to do is go to asksilver.com, and that will take you here. And all you need to do is you need to drag and drop an image. So in this case, this is a Santander impersonation. So you can see the website here is not Santander's official website. So what it does is it will visit it, it will try and figure out if it is or isn't a scam. And in this case, it says it is a scam. There is a URL mismatch, so the website doesn't match Santander's official website. So it will analyze the information you give it and then check and tell you if it thinks it's a scam or not. It can do a few other things as well. You can put in a website here. So, you can put in bbc.co.uk and it will visit the website and check it. You can copy and paste a message here. Or you can put a phone number in. So if you get a cold call, you're not sure who it is, you can put it in, and Ask Silver will see online if it can find any information about that organization and that phone number. Back to the presentation. We have been featured on the BBC, on ITV, Times, Telegraph, Independent. We've had loads of amazing exposure, and we've got tens of thousands of consumers around the UK using us today. You don't pay anything at all. It's completely free to use. Banks pay us to put the scam checker in their app. So we're working with Metro Bank, for example, right now, who pay us to provide this service to their customers. However, anyone can use us on our website completely for free. I'll come into kind of how we utilize some of the data later with kind of reporting, but that's a bit about us. But we are not the only scam checker. So as with anything, you should do your due diligence. Here are two other scam checking tools that are good, and I'd recommend you try and look at as well. So you might know Norton Antivirus. They have got an app called Norton Genie, and it's a free scam checker that you can use. Bitdefender is another. So go do your research, figure out the right one for you. A few other things that I will share after is Money Saving Expert has a really good article on how you can improve your phone security. So in London, for example, phone snatching and thieves operate a lot. So one of the things that I do is I've enabled a setting which means that someone taking my phone can't put the phone on airplane mode without a secure password that only I know. Without putting the setting on, any criminal can take my phone and activate airplane mode, which means that I can't locate my phone. However, by enabling this feature, you can do that to stay safe. And there's lots of other tools and suggestions in that article, so I'll make sure I include that later. And a final point, you might think, I'm just getting bombarded by scams left, right, and center, which is obviously the case. What can I do to fight fraud? And the truth is you can report the scams to the authorities. So if you get an email that is a scam, you can forward it to report@phishing.gov.uk. If you get a scam text message, you can forward it to 7726, which spells out spam. If you've come across a fraudulent website, you can fill out a form on the National Cybersecurity Centre. There's lots of places that you can do to share this criminal data and fight back against fraud yourself. We at Ask Silver, we enable that with just a simple yes. So when you upload something, we say it's a scam, you can just tap yes and we'll forward that to the authorities. So that's just a little bit about us, Ask Silver. Some of the other tools out there like Norton, like Bitdefender. You should also use it's called a VPN when you're on a public Wi-Fi. So if you're in a cafe or a restaurant and you're using their Wi-Fi, you should use something called a VPN. Again, do a little bit more research after, and check out the link that I'll send you for Money Saving Expert, kind of Martin Lewis, that shares a bit there. I hope my experience with my dad and the friends and the people that I know have helped. And if there's one takeaway that I would say is please talk to your family members, talk to your friends about scams, let them know that it could happen to them because it could happen to you, and that it's a safe space. These criminals, they thrive in the silent places where no one talks about being scammed, because that means that we're not sharing information. But by talking, we bring these things to light, we remove the shame and the stigma, and then it's easier to help our loved ones and to get help ourselves. So thank you so much and have a lovely day.
Well, such useful and sound, wise words of advice there from Alex. So thank you so much for sharing them, Alex, when you're watching this back. There are also some useful resources that Alex mentioned to check out too. So we've put them in a slide, and you'll receive all of those when you get your follow-up email. And you can access the recording at /Stay Safer webinar after this broadcast. So I mentioned earlier about how Johnny Ball has been supporting the BT Group and AbilityNet partnership by highlighting our free digital skills sessions, including this webinar. So following recent research that shows that nearly half of over 65s struggle to complete digital admin without help, Johnny is encouraging his generation to take back time by getting to grips with the digital world via training sessions like this. We have another very short video now to play for you to share Johnny's advice about embracing tech and how it can save you valuable time. So over to Kelly to play that.
Hello, I'm Johnny Ball, and here are my 3 top tech tips. Number 1, practice makes perfect. We all learn better by doing. So explore, experiment, find out what suits you. That way you'll get better and better. Number 2, don't be scared to discover new things. Technology can unlock your time and your interests. Number 3, ask for help. We can all get lost online, but groups like AbilityNet can help you get through your problems, learn as you go, improve time after time. In no time at all, you'll be learning new skills and improving your confidence and your ability.
Thank you, Kelly. So if you'd like to sign up for free digital skills sessions, then do check out the areas supported by the partnership across the UK. I think it's on the next slide. And that's at abilitynet.org.uk/BT digital skills. If you're outside of the areas noted, and you can find out more about the areas on the web address noted, excuse me, you can call us on 0300 180 0028 or visit our website, and one of the AbilityNet team can connect you with a local tech volunteer. We also have a range of bite-sized learning videos, one of which I mentioned earlier about staying safer online. We also have topics including an introduction to AI, using popular apps like Ringo, and loads more. So yeah, do check those out. So just moving on to the Q&A section now. I know you probably got lots of questions you'd like to ask Lucy and myself if I can help. And any questions that are posed for Alex, we'll pass on to him and respond via the webinar registration page that I've given the link to. So just looking at the questions here, there was a comment here, Lucy, from John, who says for calls, or just to say you're on mute. So for calls, he likes to keep them talking to keep them busy. So it's a nice way of stopping them calling somebody else and potentially defrauding them.
I have to say, Annie, that's one of the politest versions I've heard.
Yeah. There's a question. Let me just get through. There's a question that came through earlier from Maggie. Where's the line drawn between the bonus points that you may legitimately get from websites like Screwfix or that was an example
Yes.
given, but you get discounts, but you only get them if they're revealed at the end of the process of signing up. What's the kind of advice about trying to identify if that kind of offer is given to you, and how you can spot that early on?
Okay. Yeah, so my advice would be that you would only access that through the legitimate Screwfix website. Yeah. Very often you will be shown something tempting like collecting points, bonus cards, this kind of thing. It's about not selecting the links through those adverts, if you like, that are pushed towards you, coming away from that, going on to Screwfix and collecting your points through that way, or whatever it might be. Yeah, it's really understanding that what you are being shown may very well be legitimate, yeah, but the way to check it is to come out of where you are and go onto the legitimate website, and if they're offering anything, to sign up from there.
Okay, good advice. Also, something that we've covered on previous webinars on scam awareness and online safety is advice on best practice for passwords. And we've got a resource that's mentioned in the presentation that you can access afterwards. But do you have kind of, 3 top tips for, maintaining safety and things to remember for creating and saving passwords?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to try and do something that's memorable for you, but is difficult to guess. Yeah. So, and you can do that by, I don't know, for example, using the street name you were born in, and making sure that it's different. So it might start with a capital, or it might end with a capital, or it might have a special number, like the first house you were born in, for example, I don't know, at the end or at the beginning. Generally, passwords will want a mix of uppercase, lowercase numbers, and what they call special characters. And by that, we mean things like exclamation marks and question marks. Lots of older people that I work with stick to that kind of routine, and they just change it ever so slightly. So if their password has expired or they feel they want to change it, they will just change that ever so slightly by moving the capital to another letter, or changing the house number, or the street they grew up in after that with a different house number. So it's that kind of thing. Lots of people will ask, should I write them down? Well, there are mixed responses to that. I guess, if you've got a small book that you like to keep your passwords in, and that book is kept separately from your device, yeah, then, we've spoken to people in the cybersecurity team in the police service, for example, police force, who say that that's perfectly safe from their perspective to do. If you feel able, you could also select the remember my password option. So some websites, they will pre-fill your password for you if you allow it to do that. And that's about whether or not you're comfortable to do that at all. Generally, it's worth remembering that if you do choose to do that, then somebody would need to, first of all, get hold of your device. Number 2, get into your device, yeah, with the password or facial recognition before they even get to that stage. So a lot of people say, oh, I'm too frightened to use that remember my password. But if you're using it on your handheld device, your tablet, your device itself is generally protected, isn't it, with the password, the passcode, the facial or thumb recognition before anyone would even get to that. So it's just about trying to keep them memorable but different. You could also tell a family member. So if you've got carers or key workers or a family member, they could keep hold of passwords for you if you can trust them enough to do that as well.
Okay. So just final question, because I know we're running out of time, but anything about Ask Silver, we will pose to Alex afterwards. But a related question that's come through from Chi. Do you know whether any of the report fraud or similar sites to Ask Silver are available to highlight things in other languages?
Do you mean when the scam has been presented in another language? Is that what we think we mean there?
I think it
yeah.
could be possibly either or if
Okay.
they're available in other languages.
I'd need to find that out. Is there any way we could post an answer to that? I want to make
Yeah,
sure I get the right answer. I think what she's asking is if it came to me in Spanish. Is there a UK-based scam checker that would be able to identify that as a scam? I don't know the answer to that at the moment, but I'll definitely check if I've understood that right.
Yeah, we'll have a look into it, and we'll post the response.
We'll post it.
The /Stay Safer webinar link.
Lovely. Thanks, Annie.
Thank you for all your questions that have come through, and yeah, just got a little bit more information to share with you all today. So thank you, Lucy and Alex and Sam with my clear text today, and also my colleague Kelly for helping out so expertly in the background. A bit more information, we offer free IT support at home and online, including tech-related fact sheets and webinars like this one. As mentioned, you can call our helpline on 0300 180 0028 for support, or contact us at /at-home. If you're inspired by today's session and would like to become an AbilityNet volunteer in your area, you can find out more about that at /volunteer. We also have training sessions on digital accessibility and inclusion. So you can find out more at our website at /training. I think that's just on the next slide, where we've got details about our AbilityNet special bundle, but also 10% off our courses using the code AbilityNet Webinar 10. If you're here from an organisation that supports older or disabled people, there are staff training options as well. So finally, you can sign up for our newsletter at /newsletter, for our webinars at /webinars, and do join us for our next free online session aimed at older audiences, which is on Thursday, the 26th of February, about how to make your Apple iPhone easier to use. Do share that with others and get them along as well, because it's always a really popular topic. And we'll also be covering in the future Android devices, so do keep an eye out for that. And you can join at /Apple iPhone webinar. So thanks again to everybody who's joined us. Do complete the feedback form at the end, and we'll be in touch soon. Hope to see you in the session in February. Thanks all.